Welcome to the video and tutorial webinar of the Title II Part A Program Compliance Monitoring Guide. It is a pre-recorded webinar and brought to you by the Office of Academics and Professional Learning, OAPL, within the New Hampshire Department of Education. Our hope is that people in the field will find this a useful tool to use while preparing for this year's on-site monitoring process. As a pass-through entity, the New Hampshire Department of Education awards federal grant funds to eligible sub-recipients, including local education agencies. LEAs are schools, districts, and charter schools. The responsibilities of pass-through entities are given in the Title II of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 200.331, which requires the NH DOE to evaluate each subrecipient's risk of noncompliance with federal statutes, regulations, and the terms and the conditions of the subaward for the purposes of determining the appropriate subrecipient monitoring. Therefore, federal regulations require state SEAs monitoring of the LEAs and the charter schools accepting federal funds. The NH DOE monitors work in partnership with LEAs and charter schools to provide technical assistance that ensures compliance with program requirements and helps LEAs and charter schools reach their performance goals. This slide reviews the 3 steps of monitoring. Step 1, the NH DOE uses a programmatic risk assessment to determine whether a district or charter school receiving federal award under Title II Part A demonstrates a risk factor of low, moderate, and high. The risk assessment is conducted annually. Subrecipients that are identified as high risk level will be identified and included in the monitoring program. Step 2, after it is determined which of the schools will receive the on-site monitoring, the NH DOE will notify the LEA or charter school, provide training on how to complete the monitoring tool and what to expect from a monitoring visit. The NH DOE will then work with the LEA or charter school to develop a timeline to complete the monitoring visit. Step 3, once monitoring is complete, the NH DOE will provide the LEA with a summary and final report. If there is a compliance finding, the report will indicate a corrective action, a plan for completion, and determine when the evidence of completion needs to be submitted to the NH DOE. When all of these steps are completed, the NH DOE will close out the required monitoring for that year. Monitoring assessment categories. In order to ensure that all the children in New Hampshire have a fair, equal, and significant opportunity to obtain a high-quality education, the Office of Academics and Professional Learning, OAPL, will be conducting monitoring visits. These reviews provide evidence that the Title II Part A program with the districts and the charter schools focuses on improving student academic achievement and ensures districts and charter schools are operating in accordance with statutory and regulatory requirements. Grant year. Monitoring is based on the grant award from the previous fiscal year. For example, if the LEA or charter school receives a monitoring visit in the spring of 2019, it will be based on the results of the risk assessment completed on the 2017-2018 Title II grant. Process timeline. This slide gives the entire timeline for the on-site program monitoring. February 2019, subrecipients notified that they will receive monitoring visits. March to June of 2019, on-site monitoring visits scheduled and completed. July to August 2019, final reports issued to subrecipients. Requirements. To facilitate the on-site review, the Title II staff asks that each LEA organize documentation according to the Title II Part A Program Compliance Review Criteria, Appendix A of the Monitoring Guide. The Title II staff will review the documentation according to these criteria and verify compliance. Paper or electronic documentation of requested evidence is sufficient proof to demonstrate compliance. The DOE program monitoring visits will generally be conducted at the SAU office and are estimated to take between 2 and 4 hours. Timeline. If through the risk assessment process, it is determined that an LEA will receive an on-site monitoring visit, they will be contacted by the NH DOE to inform them of the review and the timeline for gathering requested materials for the review. The Title II team will then analyze the materials using the criteria outlined in the monitoring guide found on the NH DOE website under Title II during the on-site visit. Once monitoring is complete, the Title II team will provide the LEA or charter school with a report describing any findings and corrective actions that the LEA or charter school will need to take. Sub-recipients will receive final approval once they have met all the criteria and submitted evidence that corrective action has taken place. Program Monitoring Guide. Here is a snapshot of the newly revised Title II Monitoring Guide. A copy of this document was sent to all superintendents receiving Title II funds from Nate Green. Program Compliance Review Criteria, Slide 1. This is the first page of the actual monitoring document. This should be filled out before the Title II team arrives. If there are any questions, please contact the Title II team for help. Program Compliance Review Criteria, Slide 2. Slide 2 of the Program Compliance Review Criteria is a form that is required to be filled out in preparation of the visit from the NH DOE. This sheet provides the Title II team the questions to investigate the requirements applicable across all federal programs. Only the middle column should be filled out by the district or the charter school. The column on the extreme right will be filled out when the Title II team reviews the sheet. Program Compliance Review Criteria, Slide 3. Here is the third and final sheet of the required compliance sheet. The most important part of the checklist on this page are the Title II Part A requirements. Once again, please fill out the middle column before the Title II program people arrive. List of required materials by topic area. In this slide is a helpful tool that can be found on page 6 of the Title II Program Monitoring Guide. The required materials are listed by topic areas. A full list of the topic areas and a deeper description can be found in the Title II Part A Monitoring Guide located on the NHDOE website under Title II. Equitable services. Slides 14 to 16 talk about the requirements for equitable services. The first category highlighted here is requirement number 1, the offer of consultation with participating private school officials and description of equitable services. The ESSA statute and regulations require that timely and meaningful consultation occur between the LEA staff and private school officials prior to any decision that affects the opportunities of eligible private school children, teachers, and other educational personnel to participate in ESSA title programs. Written affirmation of consultation and agreement covering the required components must be obtained from the authorized representative of each participating private school and LEA. Equitable services continued. This requirement explains the documentation that will be required for the consultation with private school, as well as a list of possible questions that may be asked by the NHDOE during an on-site visit. These questions will assist the NHDOE in learning more about the process that took place to determine the affirmation of consultation with participating private school officials and the description of equitable services learning if the process meets expectations of Title II under ESSA. Possible monitoring questions. How does the LEA conduct timely and meaningful consultation? How does the LEA identify and contact private schools with eligible students? Does the LEA have a written affirmation signed by each participating private school and LEA representatives documenting meaningful consultation? Does the affirmation provide the option for private school officials to indicate their belief that timely and meaningful consultation has not occurred or that the program design is not equitable? Equitable services continued. If the LEA contracts with a third-party provider, the provider must be independent of the private school and of any religious organization, and the contract must be under the control and supervision of the LEA. Contracts must provide technical descriptions of the Title II services with detail sufficient to enable the LEA to determine that the Title II statutory and regulatory requirements will be met as required by Section 8306 of ESEA. Personnel list. The personnel list is the LEA's accounting of Title II Part A personnel information for the school year requested. Certification credentials consist of the required certification as afforded by the NH Dept for teaching positions that require certification. Time and effort. Under CFR Part 225, Title II requires its subrecipients to keep time and effort documentation for employees who are paid with Title II funds. An employee whose salary is supported by only one federal program may be prepared on just a semi-annual basis. Employees supported by multiple cost objectives, however, must provide a monthly performance activity report, a PAR, or equivalent documentation supporting their time and effort. Allowability. Subrecipients must provide strong internal control for the financial management of all federal awards, including written procedures for determining the allowability of costs in accordance with Subpart E, cost principles of this part, and the terms and conditions of the federal award. 2 CFR Part 200.302. Further, Title II Part A funds shall be used to supplement and not supplant non-federal funds that would otherwise be used for activities funded by ESSA Section 2301-4110. Professional development activities funded through Title II Part A support improvement efforts in coordination with those supported through other available funding sources. Targeting funds. Activities supported with Title II Part A funds must collectively address the needs of all subgroups of students in the district. In addition, schools identified for support and improvement and schools with the highest percentage of low-income students are prioritized for participation in activities funded by Title II Part A, SF Section 2103, small b, Section 2, and 2103, small b, 2, and capital C. Systems of professional growth. Districts must have a system of professional growth and improvement, an induction and mentoring program that is strategically designed to allow for continuous improvement of new teachers and of the program itself, and professional development activities that are sustained, not standalone, one-day, or short-term workshops. Intensive, collaborative, job-embedded, data-driven, and classroom-focused. ESEA Section 2103, small b, 2, capital B. Program activity evaluation. Professional development activities funded with Title II funds must use data and ongoing evaluation to continually update and improve activities. ESSA, Section 2102, small b, 2, and capital D. Documentation of expenditures. Subrecipients must follow state and federal spending guidelines as outlined in 2 CFR 200 and SEA Title II Part A. Programmatic monitoring report. The summary and final report is divided into 4 categories: compliance finding, corrective action required, corrective action with timeline, and accommodations. An example of the report is found in Appendix C. Districts have up to 6 months to demonstrate through evidence provided to the NH DOE that their programs have complied with any and all required corrective action plans. Actions implemented to achieve compliance should continue as a regular part of the LEA or charter schools Title II Part A services in subsequent years. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to view this webinar. If you have any questions, please be in touch with either Nate Green at 271-5252 or Joey Nickel, 271-6087. We are planning to compile a list of the most frequently asked questions about the Title II monitoring practice and locate the link on the NHDOE website under Title II homepage. Resources. For a full copy of the Title II Monitoring Guide, Title II Part A Monitoring Training Webinar, and Title II Educational Consultant contact information, visit the NHDOE website at the link provided on the page. Contact information. This last page is provided as a reference of contact information for your convenience. Please reach out to us if you need additional information.